I'm so sorry, everybody. I lost you. I think it's the internet challenge I'm having here in my house. Wow. So sorry. Internet just collapsed. Wi-Fi just collapsed there. Sorry for that. And I'm not sure it was even uploaded, what we did. Okay, Fungi is back. I just hope you'll be able to find us again. Adelaja is back. Or maybe she was not even there before, but she's back now. Who else is back? Let us know who is here. I'm so sorry for the... Yeah, Fumi is back, thank God. Sorry for the disconnect. Neki Okoro is back, thank God. So we'll just continue from where we stopped. Maritza is back. That's internet challenge for you. That is Irene is back. Pastor Irene. Fleur is back. Ifeanyi is back. Gift is back. Rote Baba is back. Comfort is back. Shioma is back from Texas. Okay. We should just continue from where we started, I guess. Olowo is back. Okay, Perez, where were you? Let's start that point again, if you don't mind.
Alright, no problem. Sorry that we had challenges, but we're hoping that we shall have no more this evening. So the point I was making just now is that we shouldn't build our self-esteem and our self-worth off the opinions and responses of other people. We are children of God, which means the only opinions we should be caring about is, of course, our God. We should be caring about whether our actions are going to bring us to heaven or they're going to bring us to hell.
So instead of trying to please everybody, yeah?
Instead of trying to please everybody. Because it is a cycle when you start trying to please everybody. You do a good for one person. They reply with something good. Then you're like, yes, I'm feeling better. Then you almost level up. Then you do something good because you want to feel that high, that feeling of appreciation. So the next person, they do it, they appreciate you, then you keep on going until one person, you do good for them and they don't recognize it. Instead, they oppress you and they put you down, and then you sink all the way down, even to worse than when you started, because you were so reliant on other people's opinions and responses to your good. So we should never depend on people for that, because people, of course, they think about themselves. Humans are of a selfish nature, and because of that, they will see that you're trying to do something for them, but they will just take it for them and not give anything back. So it's almost dangerous to be living off of the opinions of other people, because that would just disappoint us and make us feel awful. We should be actually only thinking about our amazing God, about what He says to us, about what He thinks about us, because it is only Him that has the power to save us from sin, to free us from sin, and to take us to heaven, which I think is the most important thing in life. Not pleasing people in order to feel good about yourself. So the point I was trying to make was that our self-worth does not depend on people and pleasing them, but it depends on God and doing what He told us to do, and pleasing God.
Good. Well, people are coming back, and I hope we'll be able to get the crowd back. We are just halfway. I think they are wondering what has happened to our video and to our broadcast, but they will get the recording, I guess. So let's continue. What are the other things that you learned from this lesson today that could be a blessing to everybody?
Also, another point that was mentioned earlier today was that why do we always try to please people who have not contributed to our success? Because even though I'm only 18, I haven't had much of life experience, but this point, it really makes lots of sense. Because, of course, you can be trying to please people, other people you don't know, just for people to think you're a good person. And of course, the people...
And that's selfishness too.
That's all. That's true. It's egocentrism. And of course, the people that contributed to your success, they deserve all the praise, they deserve all the glory. You should be doing good for them all the time. But to the people that It's like almost the common people that they just have an opinion and that's all they do. They either speak their opinion and it's either good or bad. Why do you care so much about what they say and about how much it influences you? It's really almost
some people
bad.
even allow newspapers or television to influence them because what they read in the television or newspaper, they make it their own opinion, and it gives them depression, it makes them cry and things like that because they are not building their self-opinion on themselves or on God.
No, it's awful. And I read this thing somewhere where it says that wolves don't lose sleep over the opinion of sheep. And I think that perfectly exemplifies what I'm trying to say here. Not saying that...
Say that again, that wolves...
The quote is that wolves don't lose sleep over the opinion of sheep.
Yeah.
And not saying that we're prey or they're prey, that we're better than them or anything, but just the fact that these people that haven't really done anything for you and you're letting them control you, control your emotions, it's really silly. That you should just be doing what you're doing like a wolf. You're just going with your pack, you're living your life, and you don't care what the sheep think. You don't care if they think you're a bad wolf or if they think that you have, I don't know, a small tail. What does that matter to a wolf? The wolf is just going to continue doing what he does, and that is how...
And the wolf is going to eat the sheep anyway.
Yes, and if the sheep provokes the wolf enough, why won't he just come and destroy the sheep anyway? So it's actually worse for the common, for you to be dependent on these, we'll be saying them sheep just for the context, just because you know the analogy. As wolves, there's no point being influenced by sheep. Instead, you should be actually influenced by other wolves that are of higher standard, and of course, or lion, just to complete the analogy. So I think for me, that's also incredible that I shouldn't be caught up. If, for example, friends shouldn't be caught up in the paparazzi, in the propaganda. Just be focused on one goal, on God, and you'll be fine.
Okay, so the idea that we're developing today and the topic that I started this morning is to stop trying to please everybody, stop trying to please everyone. And if you try to please everybody, that's what Perez is trying to say. It will lead to disappointment, it will lead to disillusionment. So, and it's impossible to do. It's impossible to try to actually please everybody. Even when you are trying your best, you will still discover that some people are not happy. So,
yeah, and more on that point, because people won't be happy for you, because people are of an envious nature. They're of a selfish nature. And which is ironic is that we're almost trying to tell you to be a little bit more about yourself, which the world does, but they do that too much, that they only think about themselves and they won't help any other person ever. But we're almost like the other extreme, that we think too much about other people and consequently forget about ourselves. Because people...
our vision, God's vision for our lives.
Yes, because they're only concentrated on their goal, and for example, they're gonna clobber anybody that stands in their way. And we instead of clobbering our people, the obstacles in our way, we like try to go around, trying to make peace with it, because we're always stuck by side quests, for example. But we need to stay firm. We need to keep on going straight, and we shouldn't let other little things be affecting us. And we're always going to do things for people, and they won't always be happy for us because they're on their own path, and you just look like a nuisance to them, like I don't need this person here, just trying to make themselves feel better. Because people realize that. They realize when you're doing something from your heart, or when you're doing something just because you want to feel good. People can identify these type of people pretty easily. So if you're trying to be one of these people pleasers, it won't work for you well, because you're just going to be manipulated, you're going to be used, and you're going to be left. Because people are cruel, and they will do anything to get where they want to be. And of course, we should also be trying to get where we want to be, not at such an extent of cruelty, but we should still be aiming for our goal. We shouldn't be sidetracked by anything that's not that important, by anything trivial. So please, we should always remember that other people, they will push you aside to get to their goal. So you should not really rely on them to get to yours.
So you should actually rely on God and focus on what God has called you to do. But in the process, you are also doing good to people. We are also loving people. We are also doing what we need to do. And I asked you for this question earlier, but I would like to ask this again because I'm not sure we recorded it earlier because the first part of it was probably not recorded. So, but I'm saying, like for example, in the morning, I told of my story that I love to make people happy, and you said the same thing also. Mm-hmm. That so is it a bad thing? Because I don't want people to get the impression that it's bad to try to make people happy or to keep people pleased. So what could be, is that a bad thing on itself, or is something we should still do?
Oh, okay. So to say more about, sorry if you didn't hear what I said before, but we're not saying that helping people is a bad thing to do. No, of course not. Helping people is the most fundamental right thing to do, even if you're not a Christian. That's just the right thing to do. And as Christians, we'll always look at the story of the Good Samaritan. Prime example, doing good. But it's always bad when you go overboard with doing good. We're trying to assume that the Good Samaritan, he did not spend his very last cents on paying for this man's medical bills. We're assuming that he still had money to pay for his family. He still had money to still travel home, to still pay for his family. And we're also assuming that this Good Samaritan, he's not going to come back to this person who he helped in 20 years saying, that time 20 years ago where I helped you, I want that money back with interest. No, we're just talking about a sincere heart. And because doing good, it's about sincerity. It's about your vision. And Jesus would be the best example of that. Jesus here.
Yes. Well, before we continue with Jesus, I wanted to say that what is really bad about trying to please everybody is because you are feeding off that feeling of, that people are satisfied with you. You are feeding off of the fact that everybody is pleased at what you are doing. So you are praising yourself, you are patting yourself in the back that, you are doing all this good and people are appreciating it. And then you are living off that. And that's what is bad, because then you'll be disappointed. Also, you will not be focused on fulfilling the very same thing that God created you to do on the earth. And so you are trying to say something about Jesus.
Yes, that Jesus, of course, as I talked more about this before the whole internet went off, but Jesus is perfection and he is love. And if Jesus could not please every single person on earth, Jesus, which is love and perfection, that means that as we always try to strive towards perfection and excellence, and we always try to love each other. This means that loving and perfection does not mean pleasing every single person. I brought up the example of when Jesus went to the temples and when he freed all the animals and when he whipped the slave owners. I'm sure that the slave owners, they weren't thrilled about the idea of all their future in selling and trade just being destroyed by a single man. Of course not. They were very angry. They were very aggravated. Yet Jesus did not let that stop him. He still did what was right. And what is right does not always mean what is good for other people. What is right does not always mean it will make people happy. Because there's also that saying that the truth hurts. And in this case, the truth, which is the good thing to do, it didn't help those merchants and traders. So as Jesus, since he is the prime example of perfection and love, and as we as Christians try to strive towards Jesus, he is proving to us that when we do good, we shouldn't let it interfere with our straight goal towards what we were sent here to do. Because even if you look closely in John, when he talked with Nicodemus, Nicodemus was trying to praise Jesus, saying, wow, even we Pharisees know that you are a son of God. But Jesus was saying, I am here just to do the glory, just to do what God sent me to do, that you need to be born again. So it's just amazing that even though he was doing good to Nicodemus, he was still going straight. He wasn't accepting the glory to himself. He was not feeding off Nicodemus's praise. No, he reverted all what he was saying back to his mission on this earth, his purpose and his goal on this earth, which was to bring around the revival. So that was just amazing to me to see.
Well, so the bottom line is that we should focus on being pleasing God, one, fulfilling our mission, our calling that we have in life, And also, we should make sure that we are ourselves instead of trying to, because when you are trying to please everybody else, you will be tempted to be like them or to be like they want you to be. And that is where I think the problem is.
Yes, because we don't want other people's opinions paving our way of how we do things. If you try to put this into a musical context, a small band, they do their music, they rise to fame and stardom, and all of it is because of their fans. But then they let their fans start dictating what type of music they produce. And then they're not really in love with music anymore because they're not playing from their heart, they're not playing what they want to play, they're playing what their fans want to hear in order for them to continue being like in fame. And that's not right, because it's music, it's about passion, it's about enjoying yourself. And those band musicians, they started, when they started before they were famous, they were happy, they were just playing, just trying to have fun. But when they got to fame, they let the fans dictate what type of music they did. So we should not be that way. We should stay true to what we started with. We shouldn't let other people's opinions form our path, because then we'll be sidetracked and go to a different path, even though we're supposed to be going straight. And when we go straight, we are going to either offend some people or going to displease some people. It's impossible for every person to be on your side, because people have their own path. But it's just very important for us not to be swayed by other people's opinions, because everybody has a right to opinion. It's their right, and it's always formed, and they're going to have an opinion whether you do right or wrong. They may not see everything the same way you do, because as I said, Jesus, he knew what he was doing was right. He knew that the merchants were defacing the temple, and he was doing the right thing. The merchants did not see it that way. They thought that he was just a hooligan who was trying to mess with their future. So of course, one thing is right and one thing is wrong. But from the perspective of the wrong people, what Jesus was doing was wrong. But even though it was right. So it's
their own opinion.
Yes.
So everybody should have their own opinion, but your opinion of other people are not supposed to control and dictate to me what I do. So it is God's opinion and my convictions that should dictate to me what I do in life, not the opinion of other people. But the other people also should be allowed to have their own opinion. That's what you are trying to say.
Yeah, I'm not saying that we should cancel out every other people's opinion. That's impossible. If you think about America, the whole joy of America, you could say, is about their free speech, that you can mostly say anything you want. But yet, America is still the country where most success comes from, most business comes from. And how is that possible if everybody has free speech, and if you think that people's emotions would be swayed by the public? Well, that means that all these famous people, all these celebrities, they aren't being affected by what the common people are saying. That they're still doing what they're doing, they're still remaining famous, they're still on their path to stardom, and they're not letting what the other people are saying affect them. Because if that was so, then I guarantee that they would not remain famous for much longer if they listened to what all the common folks said. So we should still have our own convictions, and we should not be trying to cancel out people's opinions, because that's wrong, that's oppression. Yes, people are always going to have their opinions, they're always going to talk, but we shouldn't let their talk really make us go to a different way, make us go a different path than what we were led to do from the very beginning. Because God was with us from the very beginning, not those people. Those people just come and go. There will always be these people that come and go. But if you stay with God, He will stay with you. And even if you leave God, He will still be with you. Like in Jonah, when Jonah tried to run away, God was still with Jonah. He was with him when he ran away to the different country. He was with him when he was in the whale. So God will always be with you. But where were those people? Those people were always, they either come, they either go. They weren't there with him when Jonah was in the whale, but they were there on the boat. They were there when he went to the city. So people will be coming and going, but they shouldn't really be affecting your path, because your path, you're protected by God, and only God is the one that has the end say, you could say.
So because sometimes people, especially leaders or pastors or people who want, who lead other people get concerned sometimes and think that, I don't want to lose people, I don't want to lose people's respect or people's followership, and it is that really makes them to want to be people pleasers. And once you take that path of trying to make everybody happy, then you lose yourself. So actually, the attempt to make everybody happy is the recipe of in losing yourself and also losing out in life. So one of the recipes of failures is been trying to make everybody happy. Then you don't have your own position, you lose out, and then you lose yourself, and you also lose out.
Yes, it's true, because when you realize you're doing other things for other people, you're not really that happy anymore. Because as a pastor, if your only concern is about the population of your church, you should then start to question, wait, what is this church even for? I thought this church was about God, it was about the relationship with people and God, and I thought I am here to strengthen people in their relationships with God. I didn't realize that I was here just to keep people here, keep them motivated, keep them captivated, be like hosting all these extra like free dinners, all these events just so people will have fun and stay. That's not the point of why he was a pastor. He started small because he realized he had a calling from God. He said he knew that, okay, I am in this new place, these people need God, and these people need to be saved. So that's how he started. But then if most of the neighborhood is already part of the church, then he's thinking, how can I let them stay with me? Because now I'm a big pastor, people know me from around the world, but if I become a small pastor, I won't be known anymore. So that means he's already lost his way.
It's still about ego.
Yes, it's about ego, which is wrong. It should not be in the place on your path, because once you start feeding your ego, it's very hard to go back unless you get a very dramatic shame, like a humility lesson, because once you start feeding your ego, it always depends on other people, and of course other people, they're very, you could say, almost unreliable. From one day they could be criticizing, the next day they could be praising you, next day again criticizing you. So being on the, you can almost say, like feeding off of people's opinions, it's a huge emotional roller coaster. It's very stressful. But when you're with God, it's steady. Of course you're going to have your tests, your trials, but at the end of the day, you're always going to have God who will stay with you. Whereas with people, even though they may praise you, all of a sudden they'll leave you and then it's done. They're gone. It won't help you anymore if they leave. But
so it's only your own. God can help you, and God's opinion about you, and also your own opinion about yourself, your own self-esteem, because it's all about self-esteem. If somebody has that anymore, your self-esteem makes you to know that it doesn't matter how people relate to you, it doesn't matter what people do or don't do, that you are still okay with yourself, and you are still okay with God. So it's about our perception of ourselves, I guess.
Yeah, because our self-esteem and our, you could say, our own inner voice, it's very, very influential. It's what every decision we make, it's with our own self-esteem, our own inner voice. So if we're going to let our self-esteem be dictated by other people's opinions, that means we're basically not even a person. We have no special opinion, we have no unique say on things, because everything we say, its influence, it's literally other people's opinions. What makes our own opinion unique is that we combine other people's opinions, and just talking about opinions, we combine other people's opinions and we form our own. But if we're only taking other people's opinions and actually we're not even translating them, we're just spitting them out, that's not us anymore. That's just these people in a different body. But when we have our own self-esteem, when we have our own opinions, that we will actually should be influencing them, that they should be learning from us instead of the other way around. We should be influencing them on a higher level than them just feeding us negativity or positivity, whichever way you're being fed on. So our own self and our own, what we feed on is from God. It's almost like a chain, a stream. So God starts as the foundation, then we feed from Him, and other people should be feeding from us because we're coming from God. But we shouldn't start with God and then have our base be other people, because that would just mess it up completely, because God is one steady flow, whereas with other people it's just little streams that just come and go. They may shut it off at any time. So that's awful. We should always have our own self-esteem. We should not only think of ourselves, but we should only be about God, about our purpose, not about other people. We should have our own unique say on things. We should not just be regurgitating what other people are saying, but we should actually have the sense of mind, the presence of mind to think about something, to delve on something and to think, and then to say it in your own way, say it in your own words. They always had a interesting exercise in school where we'd read something and then we were supposed to try to retell it in our own words. That makes you think, because you take something, take a piece of information, and instead of just fully agreeing with it, fully just saying it, we're supposed to try to say it in our own words, put our own unique spin on it, which I think is an excellent way of thinking, an excellent way of not letting only one piece of information guide you, but you're forced to think what you remember from maybe 5 years ago, 3 years ago. So when you depend on yourself and God, it's way more reliable than other people.
I made a lot of points. I gave people in the morning about 10 extra points, or just bullet points that will help them to grasp a hold of this topic very well, of why we shouldn't live on trying to please everybody. And there are some points there that really minister to you.
Well, I like the most basic one. It was the first one that you said, that it's simply impossible. That it's impossible to please everybody. I just like the simplicity of it, that you shouldn't be trying to do the impossible. That we're just humans. We're not here sent on earth in order. Of course, people are out here breaking records every day, doing seemingly impossible things. But this is actually something that is truly impossible. That because people are so different, that's the unique thing about them. That there is no issue on earth where everybody is completely right with it. Even on some extreme cases like murder, some people will be like, well, if this person raped their daughter and then this person murdered their rapist, then it's okay. So even on something as crazy as murder, people still find issues to clash on. That's what makes people so unique. So if you're actually going to try to unite all these people to be thinking the same thing and to have the same opinion on an issue, but that's literally impossible, because that's what makes us so special.
But the problem in trying to please people is that you are sacrificing your own position, or you are sacrificing your own truth, your own truth and your principles to make other people happy. Your own position and your own calling or your own goals, you are sacrificing, or your own time even. And your own priority, you are sacrificing in trying to make people happy.
Yeah, and as a person who would be maybe a competitive person, a very driven person, if you see somebody who doesn't agree with you, you're almost going to go through anything to try to make this person agree with you or to give you a positive response. So you're just wasting all this time for somebody that doesn't even care. All this time you could be using for your purpose, for your mission, for the reason you were sent on this earth. Instead, you're out there trying to maybe convince this one random person on something that's almost even trivial. So what's the point in that? We get so lost and so captivated by trying to please everybody, by trying to make everybody happy, that we actually become blinded. It's almost like we walk out blindly in faith, that we just believe that this person
blind faith.
And it's just silly that we're going to sacrifice so much. We were sent on this earth for this reason, and we're going to just cast it away just to please somebody who doesn't even really care that you please them so much. It just seems so silly right now that we're going to stop from the God who sent us, the all-powerful. We're going to reject Him and just try to please a mortal. That just seems silly.
Reject Him in the sense that reject His priority, or reject His will and His purpose, His opinion, His agenda for our lives, because we are trying to live by other people's agenda.
Yes, because other people have their own agenda in life. They're going their own way. Why are we trying to, it's almost like we're trying to help them to get on their way by trying to make them happy, and then if they're happy, they're going to do their thing. Why are you not talking about making yourself happy so that you can go and do what God wanted you to do? Because God will make you happy if you actually do what God wants you to do. If we're just wanting to only try to make other people happy, then we're just helping them do their thing. At the same time, we're rejecting God because God wants us to be doing our mission. But we're rejecting our mission and just trying to help other people be happy. We're trying to please other people. So it almost counteracts, it always counterbalances, and especially if this person does not actually get the help that you intended for them to happen. So they get almost a delay in things, and then you also get a delay in your mission. So it's a lose-lose situation for both. So I think that we should be wise, we should be mature, we should figure out when we're supposed to help people, when we're supposed to not, when we're supposed to focus on God, focus on His priorities, on His will, when we're supposed to only focus on, only be driven towards our mission, our purpose. And we're not saying doing good is awful, doing good is terrible. No, doing good is amazing. But it should not be the focus center of your life. The focal point of your life should be what God sent you to do on this earth.
Yeah, but I want to make that clear that we are not saying it's not good to help people all the time or to do good all the time. We have to do good all the time and try to help people as much as we can, but not at the price of our own calling, not at the price of our own the mission of God for our lives or of our own personality. Because the problem here is that people lose their personality when they are trying to please other people. That we are trying to make everybody around us happy, losing out on our own priority, on our own personality. Like I said in the morning, some people will even go to do the wrong profession, go to the wrong university, go to the wrong to get the wrong education. Not because that's what they want, but because that's what their parents want, or that's what their people they respect in their lives want. Yet it's good that we are respecting people who have contributed to our lives, but we still want to also be faithful to what is God's priority, what God is telling us to do.
Yes, we must have maturity in realizing when to do for other people or when to focus on our mission and what God wants us to do. That point that you brought up in the morning about people going to the wrong profession, that's them wasting 4 years on a bachelor's and then 6 or 7 years on a master's, all of them wasting all that time in their life for something they don't even want to do, for something that's not even their passion. And I just think that's an awful waste of time, an awful way to almost live your life. Always regretting that you never did that thing, you never filled out your passion, you never went through with what your heart said. And what your heart says is usually what God says and what God wants you to do. Because God gives us our passions, and ideally our passions go in line with our talents. So we should always help people, of course, but it should not be at the price of your own future, of your own, and by future I mean of what God wants you to do. Because we should always have this maturity. We should always know when it is good to be just helping people, just being a good person. But if it's gonna cost you your future, like this profession thing, where you go to university and spend all that time, all that money as well, just on something that you, at the end of the day, just disregard, what's the point in that? There's no point in that, and I just think we should all sort of have a way to wise up, have a way to know when to just make the right decision.
Okay, let's take a break. Let me tell people to go and share this message, please. Go out, I think we tried to share the first part that we lost, but let's go and share this. I want to read some of the comments that you are writing, and I want to call upon everybody to go share this message. Go share the link if you don't mind. You might need to go back to your timeline and press the share button, and then while I'm reading, Unkiru says, at 18, I don't remember what I was doing, but for sure, not rightly. Lakpo said, most of the time when we impress people, our dignity and integrity is at stake at God's expense. That's so true. Yesterday is giving everybody bullet points from the morning. Brilliant. That will really help you. Matthew Oyene said, Perez, God, the womb that brought you. Oh, Perez, God bless the womb that brought you forth.
Amen.
Yeah. Yesterday said, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but don't allow the opinion of others to affect you. So be focused and make sure you are always pleasing God in all your ways. Matthew said, only God is constant. People come and go. That is so true. People come and go. So don't build your life on the basis of people and their opinion. Pastor Irene from Manchester says, it is impossible for everyone to be on your side. That's right, Perez. Thank you. Yetunde is asking, has everyone shared the broadcast yet? Please do so if you haven't done that yet. Bash Ojelabi said, hi, Perez. Nice to hear you tonight.
Oh, hello. Nice to see that you're watching us.
Yeah. And Matthew said, what is right may not always please everyone. Yeah, and they will still condemn you for it. And Maria Kavalova said, good evening, Pastor. Thank you, Maria. Привет, добрый вечер. Это уже по-английски пишешь. Oh, Perez, so glad to see you and listen to you, Maria is saying.
Thank you, Maria.
And she's saying that in English.
Спасибо большое.
Gifts. I guess some of these bad boys are sending friend requests to people I believe it's not you. Please make it known. Yeah, every week they have 5 new fake new Facebook accounts that are open in my name. You know, and they begin to ask for money and all that, and people think it is me. So we are trying to close it. Every week we close 5 new ones. So as much as we're closing them, they are coming up with new ones. So that's just life. So let's go back to Perez and maybe ask some more lessons for us today.
Yes, and when you try to please everyone all the time, and it'll just leave you feeling frustrated, to leave you feeling very tired and very disappointed that you spent all this time, all this effort, all this money, and then for what? So this thing of when we try to please people, we always expect it to end well, that like in the movies, that everybody's happy, everybody's drinking something nice, and everybody's like, there's music around. But in reality, that's not always the case. That most of the time you'll end up feeling as if it wasn't worth your time. And regret is one of the worst feelings in the world. Regretting that you didn't maybe go fulfill your passion, that you didn't do this, didn't you do that. So this feeling of regret, it should be avoided at all costs. And that can be avoided by always following your heart, always doing what God wants you to do. And of course, doing good, it will always help, but it shouldn't be at the expense, at the cost of your mission, of your purpose, of your reason of why you're here on this earth. Nothing should be at that price. That's just something very important to remember.
And self dignity too. Everybody have their own opinion, and you should have your own stand, your own value system, and your own dignity. And sometimes when you try to please other people, you compromise your principles and your truth and your own dignity and your own value system. So because one of the reasons why we have to remain faithful to ourselves is because of our value systems. We don't want to trade our value system just because we want other people around us to be pleased. And that is one of the peer pressures that young people like you have. Mm-hmm. How do you cope with that going through high school?
Yes, it's very important to have your boundary system set in place. You need to know where to take a stand. You need to know when to stop, when to start. And for me personally, I just think I just had a very good value system growing up, that I was taught well of when to compromise, when to not. And of course, sometimes I've also made mistakes. I've stayed up late trying to help someone instead of studying, and then it affected my grades. But I've learned from that, of course, and I've tried to always limit the time, maybe move the time, helping someone maybe earlier in the afternoon so I still have time to study. So I always need to set a time apart to study, that I always have to be, for example, 2 hours per subject. And just try to work around your goal, work around what boundary you put in. But your boundary should always be firm. You should always have, for example, in my scenario, the 2 hours every night that they should be spent for studying, and nothing should interfere with that unless it's like an extreme emergency. But just trying to, if anything, trying to help anyone, that it should be around these 2 hours, but it should not cut into these 2 hours. And just for me personally, growing up, it helped me just knowing where to draw the line, just knowing what to sacrifice and what to not. That compromising, it's usually not the best thing, even though it might be necessary sometimes. But you should always try to stand firm, stand where your boundaries are, lay out your boundaries in the beginning, and don't budge for anything.
But you went, a lot of people who are watching us have maybe children or kids who are in high school or colleges, and some of them might be concerned about how to help them keep their value system, because most of the kids, when they are in high school or in colleges, they could compromise just because they want to be accepted. They want to be accepted by their peers, and they want to be accepted with their friends. So maybe you want to share practical example of you and, because I know, for example, that in your school, some people date. People are trying to date, and in our house we tell you people that we don't date. So how do you cope with that? Or even other things, like maybe some people you go, the Russian people you go to play football, basketball with, some of them curse, some of them do other things. So how do you avoid? Okay, maybe some of them will even hurt you or try to intentionally do some bad things, and then you have to stay on your value system, not to hurt them back when you're on the field of play or something like that. I don't know if that applies here.
Well, what I try to say is that it's just that you know better, that as we said before, that everybody is entitled to their opinion, and of course opinions have to be respected. That you should realize that this is what they believe, and I'm not trying to mock what they believe. I'm not trying to go against what they believe. So I think for me personally, I just try to maybe like tolerance, just realizing that people, we're not brought up the same way, that we were in extremely different situations. I mean, me being of Nigerian parents and staying in post-Soviet country, whereas other people, they were in America, in England. So it's completely different cultures. And just realizing maybe the culture barriers, and not barriers, but the cultural differences. And I think just being respectful, but realizing that what I grew up with is what I have to stick with, and what they grew up with is that what they're going to stick with. And just like that, realizing that maybe other people try to hurt you, that maybe that's the only way they know of how to defeat the opponents, that they think that if you're going to maybe get into their head, you're going to psychologically damage them, and that's going to help you win. So at least for that, you can realize that it's just a tactic for them, that they're not necessarily trying to make it personal, but just trying to win the game. And as I said before, they're going to try to win the game at all costs. They're going to conquer, they're going to bull over through their opponents and obstacles as if they're trash. So just like that, just realizing where they are, where you are, and just not compromising.
There's another aspect to that, though. What about, okay, you want to respect people, you want to respect their values, but what about respecting them too much and not bring your own value system to try to help them? Maybe, because if you are trying to just respect other people too much, and the wrong thing, and you are seeing the wrong things that they are doing, it means that you just compromise with the wrong things that they do, even though you don't do it, but you compromise by tolerating it. So tolerating the wrong things also could be a problem. Maybe there must be a time when you come out and tell, people that, there are other ways that things could be done, or there are other ways they could live their lives.
Yes, of course. You should always know when it's too far, when it's too much. I think that just comes with age, with experience, with maturity. And of course, if you see somebody bullying someone, you're not gonna just be like, oh, okay, that's their opinion, I'm just gonna leave them at that. No, of course you're going to try to help the person who is being bullied. And I think it's different by situation. But if you see an opportunity where you can maybe minister, where you can interject with your opinion, I think you should go for that. When you realize that you have a say in the matter, I think you should say what you grew up with, what your opinion is. I think so, at least. And that you shouldn't just stand aside, because we were called not just to be a side light, but to be the main light in the world. So we shouldn't just be there being dim. But if we have the chance, we should go out there and try to let them know that we think differently, and if they were, and just try to help them any way we can.
Okay. Are there any other things that you want to mention today that from this topic, that don't try to please everybody, because trying to please everybody has the side effect of it. But the most important thing is for you to be happy with yourself, to be happy with God, and to be faithful to the calling and the anointing. I mean the direction, the goal that God has given to you. While you are, before you say your last word to people, let me read some of the things that people are saying here. Oyin says, God bless you, sir. You are a pace setter for the next generation, sir. Thank you. Akintade says, that's from Florida, this is the anointing at work, sir, on your son. Thank you. Matthew says, God bless you, Perez. Tamara says, hello from Texas. Kenneth Amobi said, whatever we give out comes back to us. I so much believe in doing good, and I have discovered that in any difficulty I find myself, someone will come from nowhere and help me out. That's so true. RCCG Redeemer Chapel says, trying to please everyone is a sure recipe for frustration. Yes, and that is different from trying to do good to everybody, because trying to do good for everybody is not a bad thing. But you shouldn't look forward to them to react the way you expect them to react. You shouldn't expect them to always be grateful, and so otherwise that will lead to disappointment. Tyra Ojimadu says, the message is powerful, Perez.
Thank you very much.
Remember Tyra?
Yes.
Yeah, so she's watching with her parents. Florence, okay. Julia said, thank you for the message today, Pastor. This is great. Galina Kirishenka is saying, thank you, Perez, for your wise review, and thanks, Pastor Sunday, for this topic.
Thank you, Galina, so much.
Yeah. Okay, well, let me read one more before. Victor Son is saying, who you are is who you attract. Every leader has a measure of magnetism. Magnetism is neither good nor bad in itself. It depends on what a leader does with it. Okay. And Kiru says, okay, kudos to you, Perez.
Thank you so much.
Yes. And she says, wolves don't lose sleep. She's quoting you. Mm-hmm. Wolves don't lose sleep over the opinion of a sheep. That was deep. Great one, Perez. I have tweeted that one. Yeah, that was in the first part, by the way. In the first one that we lost. Maybe you need to repeat that,
okay,
to let people know what we're talking about. Festus Treasure said, good evening, sir. May God continue to empower you more and more, and always pray for us. Okay. Julia says, we need to major in major and minor in minor. Sometimes won't you be frank and let people know if you can or you cannot. Well done, young pastor. Then Maritza says, good job, Pastor Sunday. Our youth are on fire for kingdom business. That's so real. Oh, there is no real success without successors. Good job. We thank God. Okay, Perez. So, what do you tell us about that? Let me just read another one. Victorious Vincent says, oh, Perez, I'm so proud of you, my brother. I learned something great from you tonight. Thank you, Daddy. This is transfiguration of grace from you to Perez. More of God's grace.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you have to tell us in conclusion of this program?
Before I conclude, I just want to repeat the quote that I said. I was talking about how we shouldn't let the opinion of other people be influencing us so much, and it shouldn't be affecting the way we think. And what I quoted, I don't know who it's from, but the quote goes like, wolves don't lose sleep over the opinion of sheep. It signifies that wolves, as they are predominant, they don't really bother to think about what the sheep think, and they don't let them sway their opinion. So as people who have a goal, who are going and striving to be like Christ, and who have a mission from Christ, we as wolves, you could say, should not be trying to be listening to all the other sheep, and we shouldn't let, when we do good for them, we shouldn't let their response affect us and move us away from our goal.
Even if their response is negative.
Yes. especially if it's negative. We shouldn't let it go.
Because there are some people that will stop doing good because they were hurt the other time, the last time, because they did good to some people, and then they were hurt, and they were not, the response was not what they expected, and that is why they get bitter and they even stop doing good. So I think that's what you're trying to say.